You ever have one of those days where everything feels normal until it absolutely isn't? That was me at 6:45 on a Tuesday morning. I did what I always do, rolled out of bed, shuffled to the kitchen in my fuzzy socks, brewed my usual cup of too strong coffee, the kind that could wake the neighbor's Saturday down, opened my laptop, logged into my bank account, and thought, that can't be right. Maybe my glasses are dirty, so I cleaned them. Still the same number. Actually, scratch that. Lat of number. No glitch. No error. Just me and $11.48. I sat there for a minute, staring at the screen like it might apologize, but it didn't. And just like that, life hit me like a surprise ice bucket to the face. I'd lost my job. My pension didn't come through. I was mid-divorce, and my blood pressure was high enough to launch a satellite. Oh, and the cherry on top? I got a letter that week saying I had 30 days to move out of my house. Yeah, that was the moment I realized I'd officially lost it all. Money, home, health, even the sense of security I spent decades building. I sat in silence for what felt like hours. Even the fridge hum sounded louder than usual. And then the strangest thing happened. I laughed. Not a big, joyful laugh, more of a, well, what now kind of chuckle. The kind you let out when crying feels too exhausting. Because the truth is, when everything falls apart, your mind goes to weird places. You start asking questions you never thought you'd ask. Like, am I too old to start over? Was any of it even worth it? Can I survive this? Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like everything you built just vanished overnight? Had one of those wake-up calls that changed everything? If you have, tell me in the comments. Really, I read them. I need to read them. Because sometimes, when life falls apart, hearing someone else's story is exactly the reminder we need that we're not alone. And even in the rubble, something new can begin. So there I was, job gone, marriage done, bank account looking like it had been mugged in the alley. And you know what? At first I didn't panic. I froze. Then I panicked. Then I thought I was okay again. Then I cried while eating peanut butter off a spoon at 2 a.m. You know, the usual rock bottom starter pack. Truth is, when life completely unravels, your brain doesn't follow a neat little script. It does flips, loops, and the occasional crash landing. Some mornings, I'd wake up thinking, you got this. But lunch, I'd be Googling left double quotation mark. By dinner, I wasn't sure if I needed a therapist, a financial advisor, or just a very long nap. And don't even get me started on money. Have you ever gone into a grocery store with exactly $5 in your pocket like it's a game show? Left double quotation mark. I need protein, fiber, and something that tastes like hope for $4.89. Spoiler, hope is not on sale. But hey, laughter kept me going. Sometimes it was all I had. Like when I called an old friend to talk and she sent me a meme that said, hang in there, with the cartoon cat dangling from a tree. Other friends just vanished. Poof, no return calls, no texts. Maybe they didn't know what to say. Maybe they were afraid they'd catch my bad luck. Or maybe they were never really in it to begin with. That was a hard pill to swallow. Realizing that loss doesn't just empty your bank account. It empties your contact list too. And in those quiet moments, when the fridge hum is louder than your own thoughts, you start asking some pretty raw questions. What is my value? if I don't have a title or a home or savings? Who am I without the things I used to point to as proof of success? I won't lie, some days, those questions felt like a trapdoor under my feet. But other days, weirdly enough, they felt like the start of something. Because once you strip away everything, what people expect of you, what you thought defined you, you're left with something terrifying and also kind of beautiful. Yourself. Just you. As you are. Messy, uncertain, but still here. Rock bottom isn't a fun place, but it's honest. And sometimes, that's where the real rebuilding begins. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had to rebuild your life from scratch? What moment made you realize you hit your personal bottom? Drop it in the comments. I'm listening. Because if there's one thing I've learned, rock bottom is crowded. But that means you're never as alone as you think. You know, after hitting rock bottom, I expected some kind of lightning bolt moment. You know, cue dramatic music, a sign, a breakthrough, maybe Morgan Freeman's voice narrating my comeback. Yeah, that didn't happen. What did happen? Little things, tiny, almost forgettable moments. But together, they held me up when everything else was falling apart. Like the morning my phone rang, an old friend I hadn't heard from in months. No big speech, no advice. She just said, "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but I felt like I should call. You okay?" That call didn't fix my life, but it made me cry, in a good way. It reminded me that I still matter to someone. Another thing, walks. I'm not talking power walks or marathons. I mean simple, quiet, 15-minute stumbles around the neighborhood. At first, it felt like just moving through fog. But day after day, something shifted. The world felt a little less heavy. I could hear the birds again. And oddly enough, I started sleeping better. Then came something unexpected. A gratitude journal. I know, it sounds like something from a Pinterest board, right? But here's the trick. I didn't write down big things. Just 3 tiny things each night. Warm socks. A stranger smiled at me. Didn't cry today. And over time, those small notes became a thread, pulling me back toward hope, one entry at a time. I also started letting go. I stopped clinging to all the clutter, physically and emotionally. Sold some stuff. Donated bags of clothes I hadn't worn in years. Turns out, a simpler life really does come with fewer worries. There's a quote I kept taped to my fridge. It says, "You don't rebuild overnight. You rebuild by coffee, walks, and little wins." Honestly, that became my motto. I didn't need a huge plan. I just needed the courage to show up each day, to make a sandwich, to answer one email, to remind myself that healing doesn't always come in a flash, it comes in whispers. Somewhere in all those small steps, I started feeling alive again. Not everything is fixed, alive, but I can breathe again, alive. And sometimes, that's more than enough. What little thing helped you keep going when life got heavy? Was it a song, a person, a silly routine that somehow made you feel safe again? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear. Because the truth is, most of us aren't saved by grand gestures. We're saved by quiet mornings, kind words, and learning to trust that slowly we will rise. You ever have a moment when you're just sitting there and something clicks? Not a lightning bolt, not fireworks, more like a quiet little voice whispering, "Hey, you're still in there." That's what it felt like for me. I'd lost so much, my home, my routine, the life I thought I'd be living by now. But one morning, sitting in my cluttered little rental, drinking cheap instant coffee, it hit me. I may have lost my house, but I still have my stories. That one thought turned everything around. Because here's the thing. Losing everything doesn't mean you are gone. You're still you. Messy, maybe. Bruised, for sure. But underneath all that pain and panic, your core is still there. And mine? Well, I realized I still had a voice, a sense of humor, and, apparently, a lot of thoughts to share. So, I sat down at my kitchen table with a wobbly leg and coffee rings all over it and started typing. I wrote a little blog post. Nothing fancy, just a story about my dog eating my emergency canned peaches. But when I hit publish, I felt something shift. I felt useful again. Writing wasn't about going viral or proving anything. It was just about remembering who I was. That little blog turned into a habit. Then came short videos. I even tried painting again, badly. My first attempt looked like a sad tortilla. But hey, I was doing something. Some of my friends found their own turning points in unexpected places. One started a small garden on her windowsill. She says watching basil grow gave her hope. Another took up painting rocks and leaving them around the park with little notes, like, "You're doing great." One friend even started selling old stuff online and found joy in decluttering and making someone's day. You don't need a grand comeback plan. Sometimes it's one small act that reminds you you're still alive in there. And can I just say, I may be 65, but I've got more hustle than a teenager with a TikTok account. I've lived through dial-up internet and rotary phones. Resilience is practically in my DNA. Looking back, that turning point wasn't dramatic, but it was sacred. It was the moment I stopped grieving what I lost and started building something new, no matter how small. So, let me ask you this. What was your turning point? What is something big? Was it something big, or just a quiet realization over coffee and old slippers? Tell me in the comments, because someone out there might be waiting for that same moment, and your story could be the thing that gets them there. And if you haven't had your aha yet, don't worry, it's coming. Probably when you least expect it. And when it does, don't ignore it. That whisper inside you, it's still you. And it's got things to say. You know, losing everything wasn't on my to-do list. I didn't wake up one day and think, hey, wouldn't it be fun to start over at 65? But life has a funny way of rearranging your plans without asking for your permission. And while I wouldn't wish the struggle on anyone, I also wouldn't trade the lessons for anything. Because when everything you thought defined you is gone, your house, your job title, your savings, you're left standing in front of a mirror, asking, left double quotation mark. And here's what I found out. Lesson 1. You are not your house, your job, or your bank account. When all those things were stripped away, I realized I was still me. Still someone who laughs too loud at sitcom reruns. Still someone who cries at commercials with golden retrievers. Still someone who wants to be useful, loved, and connected. We spend so much of our lives collecting titles. Manager, homeowner, the one who always brings the best casserole. But none of those are the essence of who we are. They're just outfits we wear for a season. Lesson 2. People will surprise you in good and bad ways. I lost some friends during that rough patch, like my neighbor Carol, who started slipping soup onto my porch, or my former coworker who called just to listen. Sometimes the people who lift you up aren't the ones you expected, and that surprise, it's a gift. Lesson 3. You're never too old to begin again. I started freelancing at 66. I learned to edit videos at 68. I even joined a community garden. Me, the woman who once killed a cactus. Every time I thought, I'm too old for this, life responded, oh really? Watch this. Lesson 4. Simple joy beats fancy things. I used to think happiness came with a price tag. A cruise, a new car, a kitchen island the size of Manhattan. Now, give me a slow morning, a warm mug of coffee, and the sound of birds outside my window. That's wealth. Lesson 5. Don't wait to live. We always say we'll travel later, learn to paint later, call that person later. But here's the thing. Later is not a guarantee. If there's something tugging at your heart, do it now. Even if it's imperfect, even if it's scary. I wasted a lot of time waiting for the right moment. But the truth is, now is the right moment. It always has been. So if you're watching this and you've lost something, your job, your routine, your confidence, your sense of direction, I want you to know, you still have time. Time to build something meaningful. Time to start again. Time to choose joy. Right now, even in small ways. Whatever age you are, whatever you've lost, you still have time to build something beautiful. And maybe, just maybe, what comes next will be even better than what came before. What's a lesson life taught you the hard way, but you're now grateful for? Share it in the comments. I promise someone out there needs to hear it. You know, if you had told me a few years ago that I'd be starting over at 65, I probably would have laughed or cried or both. But here I am, not living in some big shiny version of success. Nope. I'm dancing barefoot in my tiny kitchen, making scrambled eggs for dinner, laughing more and worrying a whole lot less. And you know what? I wouldn't trade this version of me for anything. Because starting over doesn't mean you failed. It just means life handed you a blank page and said, hey, want to try again? And sure, I've scribbled all over mine. Some lines are messy, some paragraphs make no sense. But hidden in the margins are little joys. A neighbor who became a friend. A skill I never thought I'd learn. A quiet morning that felt like peace. So if you're watching this and thinking, I'm too old to change, or it's too late to begin again, I hope you'll take a breath and remember, it's not. You can still grow. You can still laugh until your stomach hurts. You can still make new memories that matter. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to start over? What did it teach you? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your story, because sharing helps remind the next person scrolling by that they're not alone either. And hey, if this story made you smile, helped you feel a little lighter, or just reminded you that there's still a whole lot of good out there, go ahead and hit that like button. Maybe even share this with a friend who's going through a tough patch. And if you want more stories like this, well, you know where the subscribe button is. Let's keep building this little corner of the internet where honesty, hope, and second chances are always welcome. Until next time, keep dancing in your kitchen. Even if no one's watching, especially if no one's watching.